My name's Joel. As Jordan said, I'm from a little town called Ipswich in England. Like London's here, we're over here somewhere. That's me. It's an honour to be here, guys. It's an honour to be in this country. This is my second time. I really like it here. It's an honour to be here at this conference. To be able to worship with 60 like-minded teenagers whose one goal is to share Jesus with their friends is incredible. It's really a privilege. I was just standing there in worship and I was just looking at you guys and thinking, wow, this is a room of world changers. This is a room who's going to go for God no matter what, and that's really powerful. And before I start, I really just want to publicly honour Jordan. If it wasn't for Jordan 5 years ago stepping out in faith, none of us would be here. If it wasn't for Jordan 5 years ago stepping out in faith and starting a small event in his town, we wouldn't be able to be part of seeing 1,500 teenagers give some sort of commitment to Christ. How cool is that? Jordan, thank you for your faith. We love you. So he asked me to speak on the Great Commission. And that's a broad topic. So I was like, okay, God, what do you want to speak on? And God gave me this message, what I really think is for this. It's really for this, and it is called The Culture of Community. Before we start, I'm just going to pray, and then we're going to go right in. Dear Lord, thank you for this room. Lord, thank you for your love. Thank you that you died and you rose again so we can live eternally, Lord. Lord, we love you. God, help me just to be a vessel for your word. Lord, speak through me. Help me not to get in the way. Amen. Right, first point, if you're taking notes, is we are all broken and we want something more. Turn to your neighbour and go, you're broken. And turn to the other neighbour and go, but you want something more. Perfect. Right, so, oh dear. Right, so a year ago now, I was helping out at a youth conference, a youth event. We took our youth to this activity centre in England. And the activity centre was loads of outdoor activities. And one of them was the leap of faith. Do you guys have the leap of faith in your countries or not? I'm just trying to figure out. So, okay, I'll explain. The leap of faith is this massive wooden pole. And you tie yourself to a harness, and you've got to climb up this pole. And at the top, there's a pizza-sized box. And it's a British pizza-sized box, not an American, because that's two very different things. But it's a British pizza-sized box. You've got to climb on, and you're really high, and you've got to jump off and grab a pole. So we got there, and all of our youth were talking about it. They were trying to figure out how far they'd get, if they'd get to the top, if they could catch it. It was the talk of the town. Every time we'd walk past, they'd point going, oh, I reckon I'll go there. Oh, I reckon I'll get there. We were talking about it. And then suddenly it came for us to do it. So the first teenager went up, they climbed up, completed it. Second one, climbed up, completed it. That was the third person. And this girl, she'd been very concerned about it. She'd talked about it a lot, trying to figure out how far she'd get. So she got the harness on, and she started climbing. And very quickly, she realised that she was scared of heights. She realised that she wasn't sure she could get that far. So she asked to get taken down. So she got unclipped, and it was how it go done. And then for the rest of the time, she was just sitting there, looking up, looking at everyone else go up. Most of them completed it. And I was by the side watching her thinking, she's really annoyed. She's really beating herself up about this. She's really wanting to get further. So when my go came at the end, I went over to her and went, hey, do you want to come up with me? So we got hooked up, we started climbing, and with the youth group below cheering us on, with me next to us saying, you got this, come on, you can get higher, with people having our back, in a place where she felt accepted and belonged, she went a lot higher. She didn't get to the top, and I believe one day she will, but she went a lot higher because she was around supportive people. And I feel like sometimes we're that. I think sometimes with our generation, we're just sitting at the bottom of the leap of faith, looking up, looking at other people succeed, looking at other people succeed on Instagram, going places, doing things. And we're just there because we tried to climb that leap of faith. We tried to sort our life out. We tried to do that. We tried to stop gossiping. We tried all this, and we just got scared. We tried to step out with faith, but we got scared. And now we're just sitting looking at the leap of faith. And this is where a lot of our generation is. And our generation, I think, has started to forget that when you go together, you can go a lot further than you can by yourself. The girl went a lot higher than leap of faith when you went together. And it's something our generation really wants. We really want community. We're crying out for community. We're really wanting it. But we're scared because our generation, we don't want to share our feelings. We get scared about sharing our emotions because if I tell you what's actually going on the side, that means you can all judge me for the real me. You can't judge me for the fake me I put on social media. You can't judge me for the fake me I act with my friends. If they want community, we are desperate for community. Our generation is so desperate for it. But we don't want people to see the real us because we're scared that then they can judge us. And I think this is the climate of our generation. You see, we are the most connected generation on one level. But on another, on an emotional level, we're really disconnected. We really struggle with saying our feelings. We struggle with sharing it with people because then we've got to be real. And I know this because about 2 months ago, I put on my Instagram, "How's your mental health?" And the replies I got were, "Terrible, struggling, I'm anxious, I'm depressed. I feel like I'm drowning in it. I don't know what to do. I'm struggling." This is where our generation are in. We are so much struggling for this idea. We want to be sorted. We want something more. You see, we want to sort our life out. But we just don't want to share our emotions because people judge us. And that's the climate I'm in. And the thing is, I think we're in a good climate because if people want something more, we can share Jesus. Jesus is that something more. But how do we share it? How do we share Jesus' love? And that really leads me to my second point. Friend of sinners. When was the last time you opened up to someone? When was the last time you shared something personal? A secret, maybe? It was probably to someone you trust. Probably to someone you know has accepted you. Probably to someone you know wouldn't judge you. I can bet it was a friend. Because in friendships, people feel accepted. In friendships, people feel belonged. And I've come here today, to go, we as Christians are called to be a witness as much as we're called to be a friend. We're called to be friends to the lost as much as we're called to witness to the lost. And I think we struggle with the friendship aspect. We forget about the friendship aspect because we're so excited about Jesus. I think he's an incredible person to be excited about. We are so excited and passionate about who Jesus is that we forget the friendship aspect. And the thing is, we're meant to be the best friends to ever have. Remember what it said in John? "A new commandment I give to you, that you love one another, even as I have loved you, that you also love one another. Because by this, all men will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another." So here it's going. We are recognized as Jesus followers. We are recognized as Christians by the way we love. We are recognized by Christians as the way we accept, as our friendships. And this got me wondering. I was thinking, are we though? Is that how we're recognized to the world? So I went onto Google and I typed in, "What is a Christian?" I thought that was a good place to start. And one of the first things that came up was 3 things Christians do what non-Christians hate. First one was judge. Second one was be hypocritical. Third one was we are terrible friends. And it's got me wondering, have we lost the meaning of Christianity? Have we forgotten what it actually means to be a Christian? Have we forgotten that we are called to love our neighbour? Have we forgotten that we are called to be friends with the lost? Because wasn't Jesus' nickname friend of sinners? Wasn't Jesus' nickname friend of sinners? He attracted sinners. Sinners were drawn to him. That's why we're all here. We've all realized we're messed up. We've all realized that we're lost, that we can't do this by ourselves. We've realized that, so we were drawn to Jesus. And so were people in the Bible. Tax collectors and prostitutes, to name a few, who were drawn to Jesus. They were drawn to his acceptance. They were drawn to his love. So he attracted sinners. Do we attract the lost? Do we as Christians attract the lost? Because I feel like I've got a thought that if we ask non-Christians, are we friends of sinners? I think they'd give us a new title. I think it would be avoid sinners at all costs. But Jesus didn't do that. Jesus didn't avoid sinners. Jesus accepted them. Jesus loved them. Jesus humanized them. Maybe the reason non-Christians aren't come to know God is because they feel judged and not accepted. Maybe somehow we've lost this idea of friendship and love. And we've actually, by our acts on our own, we don't mean to, but we've actually started to judge them. And I think this is a hard pill to swallow for us. This is a hard thing to understand because sometimes it's us admitting that our evangelizing is doing more damage than good sometimes. Sometimes the way we evangelize, sometimes the way we preach the gospel is doing more damage than good. Because the point what I've come to say is, people need to know you care before they care about what you know. I'm going to say that again. People need to know you care before they care about what you know. And this is the harder way, guys. This is the harder way. Preaching's easy. This is the easy part. The harder part is going out and being friends with people because hurt people hurt people. If you look at Jesus' life, there's a 1 in 12 chance your friend will betray you. Hurt people hurt people. This is the harder way, but it's one of the ways Jesus evangelized. This culture of community, this culture of building community was how Jesus evangelized. Luke 19, 1-10. When Jesus got to the tree, he looked up and said, Zacchaeus, hurry down. Today is my day to be a guest in your home. Zacchaeus scrambled out of the tree, hardly believing his good luck, delighted to take Jesus home with him. Everyone who saw this instant was grumpy and annoyed. What business does he have getting cozy with cooks? Zacchaeus stood there, a little stunned. He stammered apologetically, Master, I give away half of my income to the poor. And if I'm caught cheating, I'll pay 4 times over for the damage. He was a tax collector. At that time, tax collectors were outcasts. They weren't accepted. They wouldn't have any friends. They were hated by their community. Jesus was probably the first person to invite himself into that guy's life. Jesus was probably the first person to humanize him. To go, I see you, I care for you, I love you. Jesus didn't tell him he was sinning. Jesus just went, I want to be part of your life. And through that, they realized what they were going wrong. Do we humanize the lost? Do we humanize non-Christians? Or are we too busy pretending we are perfect, pretending that we have no sin, we love Jesus? Are we too busy being in our Christian bubbles, getting all the food, getting all the sermons, getting all the Bible studies, all my Christian friends, #Jesus? Are we too busy being confined in our Christian bubbles that we forget to humanize the lost? Are we too busy trying to keep our name clean and not wanting to hang out with that people? Are we too busy trying to make ourselves look and go, oh, I don't want to hang out with them because if someone sees me hang out with them, they might think I do that. Jesus didn't care. Jesus didn't care how he looked to everyone. He cared what was true and what was right. Do we humanize the lost, or do we leave them there and we stay in our Christian bubbles? Are you guys starting to get it? Thank you. At least one. I'm going to preach to you now. Right. Secondly, women at the well. Jesus was at a well at midday, and a woman came along. And what we know is no one goes to the well at midday. If you go to the well at midday, that's when the socially rejected, the outcasts go. Because the normal people go in the afternoon when it's cooler. So we know this woman was outcast. We also know she had 5 husbands. And at that time, that was a bad thing. That was a socially rejected thing. So we know that she was socially rejected. And when Jesus went, can I have some water? And the significance of that was at that time for her to give you some water, because she was seen as religiously unclean. The water you got would be religiously unclean. So Jesus went, can I have some water? What he was saying was, I see your sin. I see how you've messed up. I see how unclean you are. But I still want to be part of you. I still want to love you. I still want to care for you. And then she started to ask questions. After she felt accepted, she started to ask questions. After she felt like she belonged and she wasn't judged, she asked questions. Do you know what happened? When she found Jesus, she went and ran back to the town and told everyone, told every person about Jesus. Imagine me for a minute if you were part of that town and you see this person you've rejected your whole life come and tell you about how someone's accepted them. How crazy would that be? This leads me to my third point. Community leads to revival. Imagine with me for a minute a generation what is free from sin. A generation what is free and secure in identity. A generation who's secure in what God says they are. A generation who's secure in love, secure in forgiveness. A generation who's going for God no matter what. That sounds like a generation of world changers. That sounds like a generation that can change the world. And one of the ways we can see that happen is through creating community. Because our generation, at the end of the day, just want to be known. They want to know that you know them. They want to know that you care for them. And the beautiful thing is when you feel accepted, when you feel belonged, you can explore and you flourish. When you know you've got people backing you, you can go a lot further. When you know that you've got people behind your back, you flourish and become the better person of yourself. A few years ago, we had this girl come into our youth group, and our youth group was pretty small, and it was all boys. We were all the same age. We were like, lads, hey, lads on tour, woohoo. That's how that was, all banter, idiot. That was our whole youth group. So this shy girl comes in. Obviously, she just sat there and just prayed and was like, oh, I don't want to talk to them, yeah? She was shy. But then we went away to a youth camp. And you know your real self comes out at youth camp. So this girl spent a week with us, and she started to get a lot more belonged. She started to feel belonged, she started to feel accepted. We started to accept her and love her, and then she was able to flourish. She started to know Jesus, she got baptized, and she felt accepted. Then she became part of the lads on tour. She became part of it because she felt accepted and belonged. We flourish when we feel accepted. We flourish when we feel belonged. And there's always this happening in today's society. Gang culture. Gang culture is so high right now. It's because people want to be accepted, and they're happy to be treated badly if they know they're accepted. We on Instagram, and I'm as much as most people, we post stuff crying out for acceptance. We post things hoping someone might like it. We post things hoping someone might think, oh, he's cool. We post things hoping someone might think that we're busy, we're entrepreneurial. We post things to try and feel accepted. So how does this apply to the Great Commission? How do we create community? Creating community means walking alongside people. It means loving them. It means caring for them. It means being there when no one else is. It means going, I choose you. I know you don't even believe in God, but let's go. I'm going to be your friend. And sometimes we struggle because we think, because we're friends with them, that means we believe what they do is right. We don't have to do that. We don't have to tell them they're wrong in what they do. Jesus didn't in these passages. We just got to love them. And one day when that happens, they're going to go, wait, you're different. Why didn't you just do that? Why didn't you just gossip? Why didn't you just go sleep with that person? Why aren't you messing people around? Why have you not really been mean to people? Why are you different? Because we as Christians are different, and you can't hang on to us for that long without realizing that. And in that time, when someone asks those questions, that is when we can share the gospel. That is when we go to town and tell them about Jesus Christ. That is when we tell them about the amazing love and the amazing sacrifice Jesus got done for us. It's through community we evangelize. I'm going to take a sip of water. So, HowToLife. How does this affect HowToLife? I think we're already on a journey with this. We're already halfway there. I went to my first event in London, and that was a place of love, of acceptance and trust. But what would it look like before events? Not just to invite people, but to be friends with the people we invite. What would it look like before the events? Not just to invite people, but build a friendship and community with people. So when they come to our events, they're already halfway there. What would it look like if the event wasn't the starting point, but was the midway push? What would it look like if we built community before our events, and it was just something your group friendship group goes to? I think the questions I think we need to ask ourselves, we need to ask ourselves in our small groups, how do we create community before the event? How do we create something where it really is something where people feel accepted and belonged? And then after the event, and I know I've talked to a few people about this, I know some of you have always been asking this, is how do we keep people in at our events? I think that's one of the biggest struggles of these events, is loads of people give their lives to God, and it's incredible. But what's the follow-up? What's the follow-up for this? So what would it look like if we created HowToLife hubs? Hubs of communities after every single event. Hubs of communities where everyone who gave their lives to God, everyone who just wants to be part of something, everyone who just wants to have a friend can come to. What it looked like is when someone gives their life to God, we don't just go, oh, whoa, see you in heaven. We go, we'll see you next week for a Bible study. What would that look like? What would it look like if this time next year, we've done all of our events, we've had hundreds of people come to know God, and those hundreds of people have gone straight into a community where they feel loved, accepted, belonged, where they explore faith, explore discipleship, and explore how they create an event? What would it look like if every single person who gave their life to God at a HowToLife event then created another event? That sounds like revival to me. That sounds like revival, and the way we can do that is through creating communities and hubs after our event. And something I propose is, what would it look like if the aftermath of our event was actually more important than the event itself? The event was just popping people in the starting race. What would it look like if after the event we're tag teaming, we're going for it? What would that look like? How can we do this, that when this happens, people come to know God and we go, okay, let's start running. Let's go. Let's go together. And we don't just send them off, but we run alongside with them. We don't just send them off, but we're with them together. So that's how it can look like for HowToLife. How does it look like for us personally? How does it look like in our personal lives to do this? How does it look like everywhere we go, we decide we're going to create a culture of community? We're going to create a culture that wherever we go, we're going to accept and love people. People are going to know us through our love. What does it look like wherever we go? We see not just the Christians, but the non-Christians go, you're going to be part of my squad. You're going to be part of my crew. I'm going to follow and love you. And when we do that, what we're doing is we're seeing the girl in the youth group. We're seeing them and we're going, hey, look, do you want to have another go? Shall we go up together? Shall we climb the leap of faith together? And together in communities, we'll cheer them on. We'll be next to them going, come on, you've got this. Come on, I know you struggle, but let's go. Come on, you can do this. You can conquer that fear. You can climb up the leap of faith. What would it look like if in our own lives we help people climb up the leap of faith? So when they get on top, they can jump off and they can get to know Jesus. What would it look like to evangelize through creating a culture of community? Because I believe that's one way we can really share the gospel wherever we go. Amen.